This is a quick introduction to macros. I don't go into everything. I'm just going to demonstrate how much easier your life can be using a macro. /macro. And here's the macro panel. And bring up your abilities. You can choose from the menu, abilities, or you can hit P. So she's level 19, and I recommend starting with your macros early. There's no reason not to. By the time you get level 19, look at the amount of abilities you have, including, these are buffs, so those are over here, and I've already got them up. So the main soul here, you can see she's got 6 abilities that could be out on your bar if you're a point and clicker, or even if you're using your keys, that can get ridiculous pretty quick. And so you can see with the off soul, there's already 5 there, plus the one that's in the 0 point soul. So getting a macro up is sort of essential. So we're in Riftblade. You can see there's lots of places for sections of macros. And so this ones are all pertaining to this particular build. Now I have this build on a level 69, nearly 70, almost level cap character as well. And there will be a lot of changes. I'll bring him in next to show the difference. So if we start with our builder, you'll notice that there's 3 abilities into it. Let's go into Riftblade. We have Flame Spear, which will cast at 20 meters, under 20 meters, so 20 meters and under, and Searing Strike, which is a melee ability. So if you're standing within the 20 meters, you will get Flame Spear, and then you'll get Searing Strike. Ravaging Strike will not cast because Searing Strike is an instant ability. So now, where I'm currently standing, which is if we take the raid dummy in the center as our guide, you can see we're standing past the 25 meter. There's the 30 meter mark right there, and I'm standing right on it. At this level, or this distance, then the only thing that's going to cast will be the Ravaging Strike, because here you see it's 30 meters. So if I'm to go into the 20 meter range, here, now Flame Spear will cast, and then Ravaging Strike, because we're still outside of melee range. So there's one way to build your macros. So let's look at our finishers, the macro. So here we have Fiery Burst, the top. Here's Fiery Burst. It fires every 15 seconds. And then we have Dire Blow, which is here, which is a 30 meter cast. So anytime you're within the 30 meters, it will cast. And because in this tree we have Icy Burst, you'll notice that it has no global cooldown. Not having a global cooldown means it will cast within the global cooldown of the other spells. So Dire Blow goes, and it has a cooldown. And within that cooldown, Icy Burst will cast. And then I've just put in Shock Pulse, because sometimes when you're spamming, it's always good to have one more thing. Shock Pulse also is a fairly good hitter. Look at all these little tiny numbers, level 19 character. But so it will hit the Shock Pulse and then the Icy Burst, as you see here. The next attack ability deals extra water damage. So that Shock Pulse will have more power to it. And you will look and see that I've got 2 abilities that are not macros. That's this debuff here, and you have to be in melee range. You can see where I'm standing, the little numbers are red, showing that I'm outside of the range of it. And then, of course, your Soul Sickness, which is a very important dot. So this is another reason this is important, because it is also a little heal, which is helpful when you're leveling. So if I bring back up the soul tree, you'll see here that this gives it a small hot. So basically it says 8% of the damage of the hit. And we have two AoE abilities here. These two are 30 meters as well. They're both, I should say, all three of these are from the Reaver tree. You can see them here. So these could actually be put into a macro. So let's do that. So put Dire Corruption in first because it's every 30 seconds. And then we'll put Rancid Cleave in next. And then we're going to call it AoE. Those little annoying ticks that sometimes this editor has. All right. And so then we can just pull that in here. We can ditch that one. And what we can do there is we don't have currently a AoE finisher. So what we can just do is put in, you could double up this one for that matter and put that there. So if you're, I've got my keys so that the Q and W are mapped to these two keys, so I can just shift really shortly between single and multi-target. You could, if you don't have those mapped, just pull them over. I like to step things so that if I'm spazzing over a big hit, I'm not tossing off a pile of AoE on top of something. So that's the level 19 character. Let's bring in a fully leveled character, well, almost fully leveled. He's got halfway through to from 69 to 70, but he has all the essential abilities. And I don't believe there's any macro changes that will occur with the additional legendary he's about to get. So here's our level 69 character. He's almost to level cap, which is currently level 70. So here's the soul tree, 61 into Riftblade. His two off souls haven't changed. Their points spent are different. The masteries from 66 to 65. The only one of these that affect your macros in this current instance is the self buff of power manipulation. And you can see there are 4 points spent so far in legendary. There will be one more, most likely this one. I'll see how that plays out. If I don't like it, we may go 10 into or 15 into Tempest and pick up Skyfall as a legendary. See how it plays out. But so far, this is looking good. So macros, /macro. And your abilities, it's P, unless you've remapped your keyboard. So, as you can see, the macros are bigger. The same principles are applying though. I have tossed in my shield, and there's at self power manipulation. There's some changes other than new abilities, but we have shock pulses changed. It was originally at the end of your finisher. It's now a melee range ability as opposed to a 30-meter ability, and where it followed quite nicely in the bottom of your finisher. So it is in here now. Then Stone Spear, and that's up here again. This is a new ability. Flame Spear, it's essentially in the same spot. It's a 4-second cast still, and it is just above Searing Strike, and Searing Strike hasn't changed either. It's still a melee range ability. And after that is Ravaging Strike. So when you're at your distance, Ravaging Strike will go off. And so the finishers, again, works the same principles. Melee range abilities, instant cast abilities, ranged attack. I put these two in here. You could pull the burst synergy out and use it independently. I've left it in here, and I start with my finisher. I usually follow it after my dot in an attack so that the burst energy goes and hit Rift Burst for full points and then move back into your builder. And usually you can hit your builder up within those 20 seconds and get your Fiery Burst, Skyfall, and then your Icy Burst in within that time. There are other ways to do this. This happens to work with my playing style, but this is an example of how these things change with additional abilities and the changes now that Legendary is also added on top of that. It changes the way you either design your macro, or it may actually, given those legendaries, change what souls you use in that build. Masteries had done this before that, so everybody's pretty much used to that at this point. And so the other macros we have here, of course, is a multi-target builder. You'll notice there are 3 single target abilities in the middle of this. Those can be split into to hit 5 enemies by toggling fork. And our finisher. Then the travel macro is just to jump into battle, get your melee hits in. So the first one is a teleport to location. It is a ground target, so that's why it's at GTAE. So you'll jump to where you want to go, and then Rift Walk, which also deals damage. And that comes in. It's actually got a shorter cooldown time, so you're going to hit it more often. And of course, the leap away. So getting in and out of battle. There are other sources. There is a little tutorial here, and of course a list of your commands, so that you can build other things. Things like at self, those sort of in GTAE are in your commands. These are very specific, of course. Every group of macros are going to be very specific to the souls that you're using, but Riftblade's a good example of having some things that are instant cast with no cooldowns and going in and out of melee, and those are all things that you'll have to keep in mind no matter what souls you have. But either if you don't take it from someone like Chamber Down or Grim, then you're going to have to learn how to build them yourself. And this is some of the things to think about. So a fairly quick introduction. I believe there are other videos out there with more in-depth information on making macros, but this should help you get started, and especially when you're a lower level character, getting them made and thinking about how those things are going to have to change eventually as you level up and your abilities change and you gain more abilities. I hope that helps.